Our next section is building the book on Yellowbrow, looking at all of his moves, how to defend them, and how to punish him during vulnerability windows of our making. Now, our first part here looks at foundational attacks that you could see in any phase. Then I'll talk about unique moves you might see in phase 2 and 3. So the first attack we'll look at I call the shock herd round the world, because it starts with the twirling above head wind up before a big earth splitting slam on the ground. Even though it's a big wind up, he'll follow and sort of track you while you run around, so make sure to be sprinting in a circle around him all the way through the attack, and then look for a vulnerability window right after the slam. Note that the crack in the ground will do damage when you walk on it too. Annoying. Our next move is the electric slide, because he's dancing. He's got his dancing shoes on. It's one stomp, sometimes two stomps. It typically comes right after another move, and all you've really got to do is dodge here. And in fact, this is a pretty perfect opportunity to work on your composure combos, where you start a combo, plenty of wind up for you to dodge and get out of the way. Another one comes, you combo in between all of it, and use that composure skill to land a big attack at the end. Next is my monkey magical combination. This is what I'm going to start calling the move or combo in every boss fight that I sort of like love and look out for, because I can get the timing. There's plenty of room for me to land a lot of attacks. Like, every boss has a monkey magical combo, and for Yellowbrow, it's this straight ahead sort of darting with his electrical sphere. It's a slam down, it's a rewind up, and another slam down. So it's a three-phased attack. It's really easy to spot, predict, and get the timing up. There are delays before each strike, like wind up for each strike. That's relatively substantial, so you do need to practice the timing, but you can get some good perfect dodges in here and plenty of damage in. The next move is lightning strikes twice. It's the way he starts phase 2 pretty much every time. It's this sort of sliding swiping of his sphere along the ground that sends a shockwave that sort of is a homing missile towards you. Just dodge when it gets next to you. You can also sprint and you'll be fine. The thing to note with the lightning strikes twice attack is that there's no vulnerability window. He gets another attack going almost instantly, and it can be tempting to feel like you can charge up to him after it and get a couple licks in, but you really can't. He just starts another attack pretty much right away. On to the next attack move, which is lightning strikes like a million times. It's another sort of overhead wind-up attack that he does, or this is actually the first of two, where he's sort of holding his staff sphere thing above his head, building some energy, and then sending it down. So this one is just straightforward lightning attacks. It's not quite random. It sort of concentrates around you and where it thinks you're going to go. What I found is the best thing to do to defend on this is to sprint and get a charged attack going and just keep running in a relative circle and then unload that charged attack. It's very satisfying. Next is Starburst, my bubble, the next sort of overhead twirling attack that I put Starburst my bubble because, yeah, it was annoying. I felt like I knew like when the circle comes down, I just need to jump out of it, no big deal. But I could never dodge these little starbursts. They always seem to get me. But of course, you know, I would get the timing. It's not impossible. It's just kind of, yeah, practicing and getting the timing right. But it's just 2 rolls. Jump out of the circle and it's 2 rolls. No vulnerability window really after. Moving on to phase 2, what I can tell you is I don't have a lot to tell you. It's a lot like phase 1, almost identical as far as I can tell. Every combo I saw in phase 2, I also saw in phase 1 sometimes. For the most part, I will offer a couple tips here and one combo that seemed to be different. So the first thing I want to start with is that Yellowbrow typically starts phase 2 with lightning strikes twice. Just anticipate it. It comes pretty quick. Next is, I did kind of get the sense that in phase 2, he had more aggression, shorter vulnerability windows, or just more moves seemed to be coming. He was talking less. He seemed to have more range with his sort of sphere staff weapon, and that there was a larger AoE. So when he slams down his attacks, it seemed like the lightning on the ground sort of spread out further, but that's a bit of perception. I didn't look at it that closely. One combo that seemed to be unique to Phase 2, or just used more in Phase 2, I'm calling my Monkey Magical Combination number 2, because it's a lot like the Monkey Magical Combination number 1. This one involves, instead of sort of a straightforward push as the first move, it's like a big swipe. The next two moves are exactly the same. So you can see the first one here, where he starts with a sort of straightforward stab almost, and then he does an overhead smash, and then another overhead smash. In Monkey Magical Combination number 2, it's more of a swipe first, then a smash, then another smash. Whether it's combo 1 or combo 2, I was always looking out for this because it was easy to avoid. I could get my composure combos in between strikes, or just dodge until he was done and get a little bit of a vulnerability window then. On to Phase 3, where you're definitely going to see some new looks, and let's start with where he starts. So you're going to see one of two moves when you start Phase 3. The one you might see is Shock Heard Around the World. We've already reviewed this. It's sort of this waving his staff over his head, and then a big sort of earth-shattering shock straight down, electricity coming from everywhere. But I want to highlight how it starts, because that's how we're going to differentiate it between this and the second attack that he starts with. So with this one, the glow is coming from his staff is raised over his head. That's a clear indicator to you that it's Shock Heard Around the World, and that you need to just start sprinting, not charge attacking, and dodge when his staff lands on the ground. The second move you're likely to see is your glowing. So this starts very differently, as you'll see, because the glowing isn't coming from his staff, and his staff isn't above his head. And when that's the case, he's glowing from within. That tells you you need to instantly start a charged attack or run at him, and I'll tell you how to defend it. But when you see it glowing from within, try and get your charged attack started, rocking, and then try and land that. Sometimes the timing can be a little tight. It helps if you have a couple focus bars already filled. But that's one way to stop that attack that has just a massive AoE. Of course, another way is to use your Wandering Wight, which is, if you've got one at this point. I found that if you use Wandering Wight early, you'll get another one by Phase 3. Alright, next move is called Tailspin. This is one of a few different moves where he sort of swipes along the ground. The important thing for this one is, for Tailspin, there's just one swipe, and the swipe at the end, his tail will hit you. There is a different version of this move where he does multiple tail spins, so this one's called Tails Spins, and it's a 3-part combo. The first two moves, I'll slow it down here. The first move is just like the last move. It's a tail spin, and that ball comes around. It'll get you there and shock energy. And then he does the exact same thing, just the opposite direction. I can't believe I didn't get hit by that, but... And then the third one, there's no like tail hit at the end. It's just a big old AoE swipe. So the best thing to do, I found, with that is to just get away. Like, try and get away from the attack and from the AoE, because even if you dodge the swipes, you're still likely taking a lot of electricity into you. Our next move is Energy Balls. It's kind of similar to Tail Spins, but there's no like little poke at the end. And the AoE is just way bigger. These are all huge swipes. He does 3, 4, 5 of them. And yeah, this is one of the hardest moves that he has. My tip for this is like stay aggressive, so you only have to cope with it once. What I would encourage you to do above all else is to get as far away from him as possible when you see these coming. And the windup is so big that you actually do have time to start sprinting and rolling. Just pay it some attention to where he's at with the ball. And even sometimes, and you also just want to be careful not to get trapped up against the wall, because that can totally happen when you're trying to escape. Alright, our last phase 3 move is the Monkey Magic combination number 3. Remember, these are the combos I look out for that are predictable enough, easy enough to dodge, and have a vulnerability window that I feel like I can exploit pretty consistently. So this move, like the other combos, the first one starts with a straightforward stab, and then a slam down, which is just like his other combos. This is only 2 parts though. It's just when he picks up his electrical sphere, it's then these sort of lightning bolts down in what seems to be like a sort of somewhat tracks you, but all you need to do in this combo is keep rolling towards his backside, basically. Like, stay away from him, but just focus on getting to his backside, because that you'll avoid all of the damage, the straightforward attack, as well as the pound down, as well as the lightning strikes. Do that, and you should be able to get a full-on light attack combo in before his next move. So nice vulnerability window if you start attacking him even a little before now. Alright, those are all of Yellowbrow's moves that I can find. What did I miss, though? Hit me up in the comments and tell me if there's some moves I missed or ways you cope with some of his moves. But generally speaking, Phase 2, Phase 3, Phase 1, stick to the plan we outlined in the beginning. And keep in mind that yes, Phase 3 is difficult, and yes, there are new looks that are challenging. But he also throws out the same old combos from Phase 1, sometimes that are more predictable, easier to exploit with nicer vulnerability windows.